Amara Lewis had always known what it meant to carry the weight of other people's dreams. From the moment she got her first job, fresh out of college, she became the backbone of her family. Living in a modest 3-bedroom home in Atlanta, Georgia, Amara took it upon herself to hold things together, piece by piece. She was 28 now. For 6 long years, she worked her way up from intern to regional manager at one of the top consulting firms in the city. Every dollar she earned came with someone else's expectation attached to it. Her paycheck rarely stayed in her hands long enough to feel warm. Rent for the family home. She paid it. Groceries? That was her too. Her father hadn't worked steadily since the warehouse shut down 4 years ago. Her mother, Gloria, stayed home claiming health issues no doctor had ever confirmed. And then there was Celine, her baby sister, who at 21 was in her 3rd year at a private university Amara could barely afford. Still, she never complained. Not once. She smiled through every bill, every last-minute emergency, every ungrateful grunt from her mother, every silent nod from her father, and every eye roll from her spoiled sister. The house they lived in had once belonged to Amara's grandmother, a stern but loving woman who passed away just before Amara graduated from college. The home had character. Old wood floors that creaked with every step, faded yellow walls with little cracks that told stories of years gone by, and a screen door that always slammed no matter how gently you tried to close it. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. Every morning, Amara rose before the sun, dressed in her tailored work clothes, and brewed coffee for her parents before catching the bus downtown. She could have afforded a car, but she gave that up to send Celine to school. Celine, who wore expensive wigs and designer sneakers Amara didn't even know how to pronounce. Celine, who walked around the house like she was the one paying the bills. Amara's father, Randall, was a quiet man. He spent most of his time in front of the TV, half watching football or reruns of old game shows. Sometimes he'd mumble something about looking for work, but he never really meant it. Gloria, her mother, was the opposite. Loud, sharp-tongued, and always quick to remind Amara of her duty as the oldest. "You lucky to even have a job, Amara," she'd say, even when Amara brought home dinner after a 10-hour shift. "Back in my day, we didn't have no choice. You just did what you had to do. Ain't no room for feeling sorry for yourself." But Amara wasn't asking for sympathy. She just wanted to be appreciated. One Saturday morning, Amara stood at the sink washing dishes. The smell of bacon and fried eggs lingered in the air, even though none had been saved for her. She'd gotten used to that. Her sister had eaten the last of the toast. Her mother had taken her coffee to the living room, and her father was already dozing off in his recliner. She looked out the kitchen window, watching a neighbor's kids ride their bikes down the block, their laughter floating in through the screen. A part of her longed for that kind of lightness, the kind of freedom that didn't come with responsibilities chained to your every step. Celine walked in wearing tight jeans and a crop top, headphones around her neck, her nails freshly done. She glanced at Amara and scoffed. "You still doing dishes? Girl, you should have hired somebody by now," she said, flipping her hair. Amara didn't answer. What was the point? "I swear," Celine continued, grabbing a bottle of juice from the fridge, "if I had your kind of money, I'd be living downtown in a high-rise with my own place. Why you still here anyway?" "Because I'm paying for you to be where you are," Amara said softly, drying her hands. Celine rolled her eyes. "Whatever." Later that evening, Amara sat in her small room, barely more than a closet, reviewing a new project proposal on her laptop. Her boss had praised her work ethic just last week. There was even talk of promotion, maybe even a transfer to their branch in DC. But Amara wasn't dreaming. Not yet. Dreaming was a luxury she'd put off for years. She closed her laptop and lay back on her bed, the springs squeaking beneath her. The moonlight spilled through her curtains, and she let her mind wander. Just for a moment. What would life be like if she lived for herself? If she could wake up and not worry about anyone else? But that was wishful thinking. People like her didn't get to walk away. They held everything together, even if it meant falling apart. That night, Amara prayed quietly. "God, I don't ask for much. But please, don't let me lose myself in all of this. Help me hold on just a little longer." She had no idea how soon everything would change. Amara woke up on a Monday morning with her alarm buzzing at 6 a.m., just like always. The air outside was crisp, the Atlanta sky still holding on to the last chill of winter. She got dressed in a navy blouse and black slacks, slipped on her flats, and packed a small lunch. Even now, she made sure to leave enough breakfast on the table for everyone else before heading out. The bus ride to downtown took 45 minutes. Amara sat by the window, earbuds in, head leaning lightly against the cold glass. She didn't know why, but a heaviness tugged at her chest that morning. Something unspoken, something that felt like a shadow quietly stretching over her. When she got to the office, the mood was off. People were whispering. The receptionist looked shaken. Amara approached her cubicle only to find an envelope taped to her monitor. HR, please report immediately. Her heart thudded. She wasn't the kind of employee who got written up. She was punctual, thorough, always respectful. She was the one they counted on to cover for others, the one who skipped lunch breaks to meet deadlines. In the HR office, the woman across from her didn't even make eye contact. I'm so sorry, Amara, she said. The company's being restructured. They're cutting down 5 departments, and yours was one of the first. We're letting go of over 30 employees today. Amara blinked, stunned. What about the project I just submitted? What about the DC transfer? The woman sighed. It's not performance-based. It's just budget cuts. You'll receive a small severance. About 4 weeks' pay. For weeks. That's all she had after 6 years of service. She rode home in silence, her lunch untouched in her bag. By the time she stepped through the front door, it was already dark. Her mother was on the couch watching TV, her father dozing beside her, and Celine dancing in front of her phone, making a TikTok. Amara stood there for a moment, unsure how to speak. When she finally said the words, I lost my job today. They hung in the air like dust in sunlight. Gloria turned her head slightly, brow raised. What you mean you lost your job? I was laid off. Company downsizing. They cut our whole department. Celine paused her phone. Damn. For real? Amara nodded, trying to steady her voice. I'll still get paid for a month, and I'm going to start applying for other positions immediately. I just wanted y'all to know. Her father didn't speak. He just shifted in his seat and turned the volume up. Gloria exhaled through her nose. Well, guess it's time you finally see what the rest of us deal with. Ain't nothing special out there. No hug. No words of comfort. Not even a look of concern. That night, Amara sat on her bed and tried to update her resume. Her hands shook. She couldn't sleep. She kept replaying everything over in her head. Her years of hard work, her sacrifices, the weekends she stayed home while her friends traveled. It felt like the floor had been pulled from under her. Over the next few weeks, Amara applied for jobs every day. Entry-level, mid-level, anything she could get. She sent out dozens of applications, rewrote cover letters, even reached out to former colleagues. But responses were slow, and interviews even slower. And at home, things shifted. Gloria stopped asking if she wanted coffee in the mornings. Celine started slamming doors and calling her bitter. Randall barely looked her way. They had always leaned on her. Now they acted like she was a broken crutch. One morning, Amara came into the kitchen to find Gloria dumping out the last of the milk into her own coffee. Didn't think you needed any, she said flatly. I didn't realize we were out, Amara replied gently. Well, ain't like you got a check coming in, Gloria snapped. You better start contributing in some way, Amara. You've been sitting around all day like you on vacation. Amara stared at her mother, stunned. I've been applying for jobs nonstop. And how long that's supposed to take? Gloria asked. When I was your age, I had 2 kids and was still cleaning people's houses just to bring something home. Amara felt her cheeks burn. You know I've taken care of this whole family for 6 years, right? Rent, groceries, Celine's tuition. Don't you throw that in our faces, Gloria snapped, slamming her mug on the counter. That was your duty. You think you deserve a parade for doing what family's supposed to do. Celine walked in just then, earphones in, lip gloss shining. She glanced at them and smirked. This again. Amara always wants to act like a martyr. Maybe if you weren't so uptight, you wouldn't have lost your job. It hit like a slap. That was the beginning of the unraveling. From then on, Amara was no longer the one who holds us together. She became the one who's in the way. When the house needed cleaning, they expected her to do it. When groceries were low, she was told to go get them. With money she didn't have. Her room became a dumping ground for old clothes and broken things no one else wanted to deal with. Her mother began introducing her to neighbors as my oldest. She's between jobs right now. Celine laughed whenever she walked past. Maid era, she'd joke. The worst part wasn't even the insults. It was the silence. The way her father looked through her now. Like she was just air. Amara cried at night, but wiped her face in the morning. She still held on to hope. Just a little. That maybe she'd get another shot. That maybe her family would remember who she had been for them. But hope was starting to feel heavy too. And yet, deep down, Amara promised herself something. This wasn't how her story would end. The days began to melt into one another. Morning. Chores. Silence. Disrespect. Night. Repeat. Amara had always been organized, almost obsessively so. She used to keep spreadsheets to track her bills, color-coded planners for meetings, even made to-do lists in her phone for groceries. Now her schedule was dictated by whoever barked the loudest. Amara, you gonna let these dishes sit here all day? That was Gloria every morning. It didn't matter if Amara had already made breakfast or swept the kitchen twice. The woman never said thank you, only noticed what hadn't been done. You ain't doing nothing else anyway, she'd add with a cold shrug, like that settled it. By noon, Celine would usually strut through the house in tight shorts, lip gloss shiny, phone in hand, tossing clothes on the floor behind her. Amara, she yelled one afternoon, without even looking up from her screen. Come get this mess. I need my green dress ironed before 6. I'm going out. Amara stood in the hallway, holding a mop, her hand trembling. Celine, I'm not your maid. Celine turned slowly and gave a mocking smile. Oh, my bad. Unemployed people don't like being called what they are now. Amara opened her mouth but couldn't find the words. Her throat was too tight, her chest too heavy. She had become invisible in her own home, except when they needed something. Then suddenly she existed. As long as she was serving. Her father never spoke up. He stayed in his recliner, remote in hand, pretending not to hear. One Sunday afternoon, the family went to church without her. No one asked if she was coming. No one even said goodbye. She sat on the porch, watching them walk down the street, dressed like the picture-perfect family. Gloria in her hat and heels, Celine in designer sunglasses, Randall shuffling behind them. Later that day, Amara overheard Gloria on the phone with a church sister. Yeah, she's still here. Can't keep a job. Now she just mop floors and boil rice like some house girl. Shame, really, but that's life. Shame. That word stuck in Amara's chest like a splinter. She bit down on her lip and went back to cleaning the bathroom. The mop moved in slow circles as silent tears slipped down her cheeks. One evening, Celine threw a small party. Just a few friends from campus, a mix of loud music, cheap liquor, and heavy perfume. Amara had no say in it. She wasn't even told in advance. Gloria handed her an apron. Make yourself useful. Help serve the drinks and snacks. Amara blinked. Mom, are you serious? Don't talk back, Gloria snapped. These are guests in my house. Amara wanted to scream, but instead she took the tray of wings from the oven and forced a smile she didn't feel. The living room was loud with laughter and trap music, the kind that made the walls vibrate. Amara moved quietly, offering paper plates and cups. She tried not to make eye contact. Celine introduced her to someone as just the help. She cool, she said, waving her hand. She don't talk much. Everyone laughed like it was a joke. Like she was a joke. Then it happened. Someone, Celine's friend with long acrylic nails and a tight pink dress, spilled a full cup of red punch on Amara's blouse. Laughed. Didn't apologize. Oh my God, girl, she said, smirking. You look like a strawberry milkshake. The room burst into laughter. Celine doubled over, tears in her eyes. Amara stood there, soaked, frozen. Her hands shook as she placed the empty tray on the table and walked away. She didn't run. She didn't say a word. She just climbed the stairs, her wet blouse clinging to her skin, and shut the door to her room. Inside, the noise from downstairs dulled to a muffled beat. Amara sank to the floor. Her chest heaved, but no tears came. She was past crying. Her heart had grown sore from it. Instead, she pulled out a small notebook from beneath her bed. It was old, something she'd once used to plan work trips. But now it was filled with handwritten goals, scribbled late at night when no one was watching. Start over. Be your own source of strength. They don't define you. She wrote one more that night, the ink smudging slightly beneath her hand. They can treat me like a maid, but I know who I am. Then she picked up her borrowed laptop and opened the free course site she'd found 3 weeks ago. She had already finished 2 modules on digital marketing and was halfway through a coding boot camp. Every night, she stayed up until 2 or 3 a.m. learning. No one knew. And that's how she liked it. Because one day soon, they would look for her, and she'd be gone. Not just from the house, but from the person they thought they broke. She was rebuilding. In silence. In the dark. And when she rose, she wouldn't be coming back. Winter faded into spring, but nothing in Amara's home thawed. The coldness around her only grew. Yet inside, something new was stirring. She had learned to work silently, rising before anyone else. She'd wash dishes, mop the floor, and start a load of laundry by 6 a.m. Not because she wanted to, but because fighting back meant more yelling, more silence, more insults. It wasn't submission. It was strategy. Her spirit was on a mission, and for now, silence was her shield. While Gloria bragged in church about how she had to carry all the weight around the house, and Celine boasted online about her boss girl lifestyle, Amara was learning how to build websites. She watched YouTube videos on branding, read ebooks about online entrepreneurship, and even started creating digital designs for local small businesses in the city. Quietly, carefully, under a fake email name so no one would trace it back to her. The laptop her friend had lent her was old and missing a key, but it became her lifeline. She used it to study, create, and earn her first $50. Then $100. Then $200. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She never told her family. They would only mock her or find a way to take it. She hid the money inside an envelope taped behind her bedroom dresser. Each time she added a bill, it felt like a breath of fresh air. One morning, as Amara scrubbed the bathroom sink, Celine strolled in, brushing past her like she was furniture. "Don't forget to clean the tub extra good," Celine said. "I got a guest coming over later." Amara kept scrubbing. Celine turned and looked at her. "You know, if you were smart, you'd try to marry someone rich. Ain't like them little computer classes gonna save you." Amara didn't answer. She didn't need to, because that same afternoon, she got her first real client. A small beauty brand needed someone to design their website and manage their Instagram content. They offered her $800 for a one-week gig. She nearly cried. That night, while her family laughed downstairs, Amara sat cross-legged on her bed, typing into her laptop with fire in her fingertips. She gave her best. Professional. On time. Every detail polished. By the end of the week, she got glowing feedback. And another offer, from a client referral. Then another. Then another. By the end of the third month, she had earned over $3,500. She opened a savings account online and started moving her money into it, bit by bit. Quietly. Safely. Just enough to lay bricks for her escape. The real shift happened on a stormy Friday. Celine had failed a class and was blaming everyone but herself. She came home yelling at Gloria, who quickly turned on Amara, as usual. "If you weren't in my way all the time, maybe I could focus better." Celine snapped. "Focus?" Amara asked quietly, looking up from her plate. "You party more than you study." Celine threw her purse down. "Excuse me." Gloria stood. "You better watch your mouth, girl. You live in here rent-free, remember?" Amara placed her fork down slowly, carefully. "I paid this rent for 6 years straight," she said calmly. "And even when I lost everything, I still carried this house while y'all sat back and watched me break." The room went silent. Randall shifted uncomfortably. Amara stood. "You've mistaken my quiet for weakness," she said. "But I've been working every single day, learning, building, preparing. And soon, I won't be here for you to insult." Gloria scoffed. "You ain't going nowhere." Amara smiled. "Watch me." She walked to her room, locked the door, and picked up her laptop. It was time. She submitted her application for a business license. She finalized her website. She completed her paperwork for a small business grant she'd secretly applied for, and got approved. A week later, $10,000 hit her new business account, and with it came something even more powerful: proof. Proof that she wasn't broken. Proof that they were wrong. Proof that she was rising. By the end of the month, Amara signed a lease on a small one-bedroom apartment on the west side of the city. She didn't tell a soul. She just packed her things one Sunday morning while everyone was at church, called a moving truck, and left. She didn't leave a note. She didn't leave a number. She just walked out the front door with her head high, and never looked back. The house felt colder without Amara. Not physically. Gloria still ran the heater like nothing had changed, but something in the air had shifted. There was no more quiet shuffling of slippers in the hallway at 5 a.m. No steaming pot of oatmeal waiting on the stove. No one to pick up after anyone. At first, Gloria told herself she was glad. She finally out of here, she boasted to her friends at church. Took her long enough. But that confidence didn't last. By the third day, dirty dishes were stacked in the sink. Trash overflowed in the kitchen. Celine stormed through the house, yelling about missing clothes and dirty bathrooms. Who's supposed to wash my uniforms? She snapped one morning. This ain't the Four Seasons. Gloria glared at her. Washing yourself. You grown. But she didn't. Neither of them did. Randall, who had long retired into silence and television, refused to help. He wasn't much more than a shadow in his own house, mumbling about back pain and flipping channels. Within a week, the entire house was in disarray. Then the bills started piling up. The rent was due, and for the first time in years, no one had the money. Gloria had been depending on Amara's savings for longer than she liked to admit. Even when Amara lost her job, she still managed to pay for most things using what little she had left. But now, that safety net was gone, and there was nothing to catch them. Celine had dropped 2 college courses without telling her mother. She spent more time on TikTok than textbooks and kept hoping to go viral with her beauty tutorials. Her tiny part-time retail job barely covered her Uber rides. She tried reaching out to Amara once, just once. Sent a short DM with a weak apology and a "Hey girl, how you doing?" Amara left it on read. Meanwhile, in her tiny West Side apartment, Amara was building an empire. She turned her skills into a thriving digital business, branding, website design, social media marketing. Black-owned small businesses across the city now knew her name. She was professional, kind, excellent, and she delivered. Clients respected her, paid her on time, referred her. In 3 months, she went from barely surviving to making $6,000 a month. She bought new clothes, registered her business officially, and paid her bills with dignity. And one day, when a former HR manager from her old job reached out and offered her a full-time position, she turned it down. She was her own boss now. No more begging for paychecks. No more asking for help. No more giving to people who never gave back. But karma was just getting started. The first big hit came when Gloria's car broke down. Transmission shot. The mechanic said it would cost $3,000 to fix. She didn't have it. She called everyone. Nobody answered. She even tried calling Amara's old number. Disconnected. She had to start taking the bus, waking up at 5 a.m. to catch 3 transfers just to make it to the beauty supply store where she worked part-time. The second hit came when Celine lost her job. She'd been showing up late too many times. Then got caught on camera texting in the back room instead of helping customers. Her manager fired her on the spot. "But I'm your best-looking employee," she'd said, shocked. He didn't blink. Now she was stuck at home, broke and bitter, scrolling through social media while Amara's face popped up on small business pages left and right. "She thinks she's better than us now," Celine muttered one day, slamming her phone down. Gloria didn't answer, because deep down she knew the truth. They had messed up. They had mocked the one person who carried them for 6 long years. The one who fed them, paid the bills, protected their image. And when she needed them the most, they treated her like trash. Now life was doing what Amara never did, holding them accountable. A month later, Gloria received an eviction notice. She hadn't told Randall yet. She didn't know how to. And honestly, she was too ashamed to call anyone for help. But one night, when the lights got shut off, just like that, she sat in the living room with tears in her eyes, clutching a past-due bill and whispering Amara's name under her breath. Not to beg, not to blame, but because for the first time in years she missed her. And it was too late. It had been nearly a year since Amara walked out of that house without looking back. And what a year it had been. Her business, Amara Creative Studio, was thriving. She had expanded from web design to brand coaching, digital strategy, and even hired 2 interns from the local community college. She was invited to speak at events for young Black entrepreneurs in the city and had her story featured in a local business magazine. Amara didn't chase recognition. She didn't need revenge. She just lived in her truth. Quietly, proudly, unapologetically. But fate, or maybe divine timing, had its own plans. Because one spring afternoon, an email arrived in her inbox that made her sit still for a long moment. "Hi, Ms. Amara Lewis. We'd love for you to be the keynote speaker for our upcoming Empower Her Summit, featuring Black women in business across the state. Your story has inspired so many, and we want you to close the event with a message about rising from adversity and reclaiming your life. It will be aired live and streamed online. Let us know if you're available." She smiled, softly at first, then wide and deep. She said yes. The event was held at a massive cultural center downtown. Bright lights, gold decor, rows and rows of seats filled with young women, professionals, influencers, and families. There were cameras, press badges, and smiling volunteers holding signs that read, "Support Black women in business." Amara stepped onto the stage in a flowing emerald green jumpsuit, her natural hair in a soft twist-out crown. No one could look away. She didn't speak with anger or arrogance. She spoke with grace, with power. "I used to think that love meant giving until I was empty," she told the crowd. "I learned the hard way that some people will only love you as long as you're useful to them. But when I lost everything, when I had nothing left to offer, I found something stronger than their approval." She paused, her voice calm. "I found me." The audience stood in thunderous applause. Cameras flashed. Online, her speech went viral. And just like that, the girl they dismissed as a maid became a voice for thousands of women learning to rise again. Gloria watched it all from the edge of a worn-out couch in a friend's living room. They had been evicted 2 months prior. Now she and Celine were staying on someone's pull-out bed. Randall had moved to a relative's house across town. He barely called. Celine sat nearby, arms crossed, lips tight. She hadn't said a word since Amara appeared on the screen. Gloria whispered, almost as if to herself, "She really did it." Celine's eyes flicked up. "She left us." "No," Gloria said, voice raspy. "We left her." They sat in silence, watching Amara shine on TV. And that silence, that was karma. Weeks later, Amara received another message, this time from a familiar name. "Hi, it's Mom. I saw your speech. I'm sorry. I was wrong. We all were. I know I don't deserve a response, but I wanted to say it anyway." Amara stared at the message for a long time. Then she put the phone down. Not with hate, not with hurt, just peace. Because forgiveness, she'd learned, didn't always mean opening the door again. Sometimes it meant closing it gently and choosing yourself. By summer, Amara had moved into a beautiful loft downtown. Exposed brick walls, big windows, sunlight everywhere. Her business was fully booked for the next 3 months. She was working with major clients, mentoring young women, and living with joy again. But the best part, one Friday evening, she opened her door to her best friend Maya, carrying 2 smoothies and laughing loud. "Girl, you're glowing," Maya shouted. "You look like you ain't stressed a day in your life." Amara smiled, pulling her into a hug. "That's because I stopped trying to prove anything to people who never saw me in the first place." She walked back to her desk and stared at the framed note pinned to her wall. The one from her darkest nights, when all she had was faith and a cracked laptop. "They can treat me like a maid, but I know who I am." She did. And now so did the world.